Shabbat Shalom, everyone. It's a special Parsha today as we are about to begin the third book of the Torah, the third of the 5 books of Moses. And there are 2 names for this. One is the name that is followed amongst Christian tradition, and the other is the one followed by Jewish tradition. And I will tell you that at first glance, the Christian tradition makes more sense, because in English, the name of the third book of the Torah is Leviticus. Okay? And why is it called Leviticus? Because what is this book about? Levites. I don't know what cuss means, but it's Leviticus. Okay? And if you look into the content of this third book, it's all about the laws of how sacrifices were offered and who were the people who prepared, the preparers of those who gave the sacrifices. Those were the Levites. And who offered the sacrifices? Those were the Kohanim, or the priests, who were a subset of the Levites. And what is the Jewish name? What is the Hebrew name for the third book of the Torah? Vayikra. Vayikra is given its name because it's, at first glance, the first word of the third book of the Torah. Vayikra means, and he called, and God called. And at first glance, it looks pretty superfluous. We know that Moses is the person who is applying God's word. We know that the two of them are together. So the name of the Torah portion should be Vaydaber, or the Torah portion should begin with Vaydaber Adonai Elav. These words were given from God to Moses. But why these 3, this initial part of the Torah, why the word Vayikra? Why do we need to know that Moses was called at this moment in the story of the Jewish people, and what can it teach us? So, does anyone have an idea or some thoughts you have about why the use of the word Vayikra? Someone can help redeem perhaps Jewish tradition here, so it can make a little more sense compared to the other ideas out there. Why would Moses need to be called at this moment? Everyone thinks it makes perfect sense. Is that what I'm hearing? Oh, of course. Yes, sir. Thank you. He's called on Mount Sinai to get the laws. Okay, so maybe Moses was not realized what his role was, and God is saying, Vayikra, like you've got to get some laws here. Very good. Yes. Okay, really beautiful. You said something in your words, and then you communicated something in your hands, Milt, which I thought was really awesome. What you said in your words was, Vayikra, you got to get called because you're going to get a lot of words here. You get a lot of information here. This is not just going to be a quick message, and that is true. But then, I don't know if you noticed, you said Vayidaber is a conversation, and you said Vayikra, you point upwards, hinting that Vayidaber is like a conversation like this, and Vayikra is God calling down to Moses, being like, perhaps this is going to be some important stuff from above, Moses, so pay attention. Good. Anyone else? So this baffled the rabbis. They did not understand the name of this third book of the Torah. They did not understand the name of this week's Torah portion, and it led to a lot of different ideas. And believe it or not, I think they really speak to their condition, and they speak to the place that we are in this world. The first is Rashi. And Rashi says, what does Vayikra hint? Vayikra hints at a language of tenderness. If you look backwards at what just happened, the sanctuary was built. But right before the sanctuary was built, the moment when God gave to Moses the instructions for how to do that, this was now the second time Moses was called up to the mountain. There had just been a golden calf. And in that conversation, God was ready to start over again. So Moses, looking backwards, could be thinking, well, I got some more information. I don't know where this is going to go. Moses is also a prophet, and he could be looking forward and knowing what's going to unfold in 3 weeks from now in the Torah portion. We're going to learn about the story of Aaron's children, who are going to call up. They are going to go up to offer the sacrifices for the first time. They're going to do so incorrectly, and they are going to lose their lives. So Moses might be very scared to move forward at this present moment, and therefore God uses the word Vayikra that hints at tenderness. Moses, I'm not upset anymore. We are going to move forward. We have a new system here. You can trust me on this. Perhaps words of tenderness because up to now, all of the aspects of the sacrificial system was done by Moses' brother. And maybe the tenderness is, even though I've kept you a little bit apart from this, you're still my friend. We still go away, we still go back. I still care about you, Moses. Nachmanides comes in, and he gives a different answer. For Nachmanides, he looks at the past that Moses has been going through, sees now that there is a curtain in the sanctuary where God's voice is coming from. And the word Vayikra says you can actually go past the curtain. Nachmanides says Vayikra, the choice of those words, is a word of God giving Moses permission in this new setup to be able to continue the conversation with God. Thirdly, Ibn Ezra. He looks at this and he says, what is giving the message to God? What's going on behind the curtain? But the Ananei HaKavod, this holy cloud. That again, when we think of a cloud, we like to refer to, it's like looking at a cloud in the sky. But when we look at what the Torah is getting at, it is something that is gray, something that is not clear, something that is mysterious, something that is that's like tangible, measurable, but yet not. It's this weird tool that God uses when the people of Israel are traveling through the wilderness of relating and guiding the entire people. It is mysterious and it is unknown. So the word Vayikra for Ibn Ezra is a message from God to Moses saying, you don't have to run away from the unknown, but the unknown, what is mysterious, is something you can embrace. So a voice of tenderness, a voice of giving permission, and a voice encouraging one to embrace what is unknown. These three calls, without the word Vayikra now, we can see, would have led to stagnation. We have just built the tabernacle, and yet at this moment in the story of the Torah, Moses may have said, I don't know how to move forward. Moses may have frozen. Maybe Moses was too afraid and needed that tenderness. Maybe Moses didn't think he was allowed to. He needed permission. Maybe Moses felt the unknown was beyond him, not for him. And if Moses followed all three of those pieces, where it's following the two books of Moses, we're not getting into 3, 4, and 5, let alone getting into the land of Israel. So when the rabbis choose the word Vayikra, they are highlighting a liminal moment in the story of the Jewish people in the wilderness. Because God uses this word and Moses responds, the story of the Jewish people is allowed to continue. And I would say there is something that each and every one of us can learn in this day and age. Aren't there things around the world that can cause us trepidation, especially for what it means to be good, especially for what it means to follow truth, especially for what it means to be Jewish? And sometimes we need that tender voice to say, yes, you can move forward and don't follow your anxiety, follow the voice of love. Sometimes we think the challenges of this world are beyond us, that we are not allowed to be a part of that conversation. And therefore, the Vayikra comes through and says, no, whether it be you're a member of the Jewish community, whether it mean you're a citizen of our country, whether it mean that you are a human being in this world, you have a right to assert your voice. And for the Jewish experience, so often we feel, well, maybe it's not right for me to stand up for Israel because it's not my place. And the Vayikra voice comes in and says, no, you have permission. And the third aspect of Vayikra is this idea of an unknown. Sometimes it's not about permission, but sometimes we look at the grayness of the world and we use that as a permission to disengage, to stay away from the gray. It's not really clear where the lines of right and wrong are, so I'm just going to step away. And here, the Torah portion gives us guidance. Don't step away from the world, but lean into it. Bring your voice, bring your morality, bring your sense of goodness, because the world needs all of those things. But it is not just the world that needs those things. There's one more commentary that I'd like to share, because it is also God that needs that of us. In his commentary, the Eish Kodesh, the Holy Fire, the rabbi of the Warsaw Ghetto and during the 1940s, Rabbi Colonist Shapiro, writes the following commentary of this. You see, when Rashi says Moses is speaking, God is speaking words of tenderness, he quotes where that tenderness comes from, and he talks about how God calls upon the angels. Ve'kara ze el ze ve'ahamar. And says God speaks to the angels with tenderness, so too does God speak to Moses here with tenderness. And what Rabbi Shapira highlights is that Rashi is not just pointing out the tenderness message of that verse, but rather Rashi is also highlighting the comparison of human beings to angels. Like God talks to angels, so too is God talking to Moses. What's the message here? God is realizing as his relationship with the Jewish people and the world is unfolding, that God is dependent on humanity to enact God's values. God can't bring goodness in this world. God can't bring justice in this world without the help of humanity. We are God's partners in creation. And what Rabbi Shapira is saying is not only are we God's partners, but when we partner with God, we serve as God's angels. Each and every one of us has the capacity to rise up and have that type of relationship with the divine. The challenge, of course, is, will we hear that call? So as we deal with the challenges in front of us, whether it be the challenges of anti-Semitism, whether it be the challenges of war and our pursuit of peace, whether it be the challenges of the enemies that face us, may we not shy away from the sacred call to be God's partners, just like Moses did. May we all see in ourselves we used to say true angels, but I think what God is referring to is may we see the angels that rest in us. Shabbat Shalom.